So this is part 2 of my web series on creating a strategy or solution on how to handle a distributed environment with each of the sites using different authoring tools. So we talked about in the previous posts or video on how to get information into BIM 360, which is going to be our main hub. So we did it via Navisworks, using tools from PDMS to Navisworks to BIM 360, as well as from Ship Constructor to Navisworks to BIM 360. However, again, it doesn't really matter how the information gets to the BIM 360 hub. There's many formats that it actually supports. So what we're going to concentrate on this video is on how to access this information after it's in BIM 360. So there's 3 ways of actually doing it. The first one is using the BIM 360 web app, which is relatively lightweight compared to Navisworks or any of the authoring tools, just to view it. So you don't need any of this information or any of these authoring tools or even Navisworks to view this information, just simply the BIM 360 web app. Then there's Navisworks, which is again is something that's mostly used in majority of people's workflows, and it just kind of wanted to describe that or explain that just to show how it can be seamlessly used with the BIM 360 and introduced into or included into your workflows and processes without very much disruption. And the last one, which is probably the coolest one, is using BIM 360 iPad app, mainly because it is just something really cool about looking at of your ship on a virtual 3D model in your iPad is just something really cool about it, and especially that it's a rich data that you can actually access and get information from. So if we switch here to, I'm going to switch over to Navisworks first. So this is the normal Navisworks that's installed as a normal application or traditional application on my computer. So to open it, usually you would go through File Open to open a Navisworks file that's on your project server, but in this case we're going to BIM 360, and it has three buttons here. You obviously know which one to click, which is going to be the Open. So where it takes us right now, this is the dashboard. That takes me right to my merged models, which you remember that this is where we combined the models from each of the sites. But if we did want to just open the models from each of the site individually, if you just want to see what the other site's working on, or even if you want to see what your site is working on because you're not in engineering and just want to review your team's model. But in this use case, we're going to look at merge models, and we're going to select that and click Open. So what it's doing right now, it's actually loading the models right into my computer, so I can actually view them. And it's actually both, it's combining the models. So it looks like the model is already here. So as you can see, it has the normal model, or has the complete model, which is the mechanical system, and the structure. You get all the cool functionalities of Navisworks, that it's a very light viewer of viewing your model. And you can actually see, just so that we get some sectioning here. Actually, let's do front. So you can kind of see that it has not just the structure, it actually has the combined model of the mechanical systems, the piping, equipment, and I think some HVAC here as well. And then the normal functionality that you have from Navisworks, which again the majority of you are familiar with, because it is reading these files from either Ship Constructor or PDMS, it has rich data of all the attributes. So this is a structure part, which has a part name, drawing, stock, and so forth. Pretty much any other attribute data that you actually have. So I won't get too much into Navisworks, as the majority of you guys are familiar with it. I'm going to move right into the BIM 360 web app. So this is my BIM 360 web app just starts up. So again, this is my main dashboard that lists all the projects that I'm working on. So the waveform is the project that I want to navigate through. So again, it gives me the same kind of the project dashboard where it has the models, which are the individual models for each of the sites. One is again structure, the other one is outfitting, and then the combined model or the merge project. And in the BIM 360 Glue, you can open up either one. And I should mention again that this is just application that could be installed for free once you have the BIM 360 hub, we'll say. And it's relatively lightweight, so you don't need any of the authoring tools. So if we select the merge model, because that's what we actually want to open and interrogate. So as you can see here, it opens up relatively quickly. You do notice that the coloring of this is different than the thumbnails, mainly because I have materials that I apply in Navisworks just to visually see what I'm actually dealing with, and that's just a personal preference, but the thumbnails just don't respect that materials, but it's all the same model. So some of the features that we have here is again with what we had with Navisworks. We had the orbiting, relatively smooth, panning in, and all the walkthroughs, examine, and all the other navigation tools that you would have. Additional, what we have is that we have selection tools. So if you select a part, if you right click on it, you can view properties, and this gives you pretty much the same properties that you would get in Navisworks. So very rich data, gives you the type of part, and this all comes from the ship constructor, the source drawing, part side, drawing name, part name, assembly, and the CG locations. So again, very rich data that you actually get. So also, if we kind of just move down here for some of the functionalities on models. So again, we have those two models in here. You can actually use it to actually filter down and start navigating it a little bit more clearly, especially if you have some product structure. Just switched here. So if we kind of just stopped here, you see that that's the whole structure, and this is the structure that was built in there. And if you actually select a part, it will actually select it in the tree of where it is in the hierarchy. And also you can use this to, if you just want to look at a particular portion of the project. So say if I hid the whole structure, this right now is just giving me mechanical systems, so of site 2. So if you want to do that, it's an easy way to navigate and look at what's actually that you need to interrogate, or what information that you actually have. And last but definitely not least, another function I have here is there is add section. So the section, very similar to what we did with the Navisworks. Let's do the front of here again. And take these ones off. So again, has the full rich data that you can actually look into and interrogate. So it just makes it a little bit easier to scale down and just look at what you actually need to be looking at. And there's actually other functionality that you can get to. Let me just get back in here. Say for example, well, actually let's bring back this section in here. And say for example we want to do some measurements. just because you really need, when you're combining these two models, a lot of times you need to find out how they're related with each other. And we'll get to clash detection in the last one, but I just want to also mention that there is a tool here to measure. So if you did want to measure two objects, which in this case what we'll do is we'll do a structure and mechanical system. We can set to select them, so we'll do this pipe and this plate. So if we want to find the distance between them, select those two, select the shortest distance, and it will give us the distance between the two parts, which is 3 inches and 5/16, and does a measuring. And you can do that with virtually any other parts, even if you have two structure parts, and do a shortest distance. It'll give you the calculation. There it is, 1 foot 5 inches, 11/16. And the last thing I want to show you is the iPad app, which is probably the coolest one. Again, just something about viewing a ship model on an iPad amazes me. So here's my iPad. It comes up. So at the top, it just has my different sites that I have. Majority of the people will just have one, but this again the same dashboard that you saw through the web app. So if I select the waveform, which contains my projects, so this takes me to the merge models, as well as if I want to look at my individual models. Again, you might want to do this if I just want to look at what my team's doing, or if I want to just look, have a quick look at what the other site is working on. I can look at the individual models, but most likely you're going to want to look at it as a combined model. That's what I'll be doing here. So you can see it loads relatively quickly. It's usually even a little faster than this, depending on which iPad you have. I have one of the older ones. So we can click and drag here. Again, you have all the navigation as rotate, orbit, and all that zooming in, pinching, and so forth. So you have all that functionality that you would expect to have in any kind of viewer, 3D viewer. So the first thing that I want to show you here is the selection. So if I select one of those parts, I have the 3 different options here, but if I go to the one on the furthest right, which is has an I, which is information, if I select that, it gives me the information on that part. So this is the rich information I get in the model on virtually any way that I want to access and view the model. So this is the ship constructor data that we're getting here. So we get your material, part name, stock name, drawing name, you know, if it's been plate nested, which can be important depending on where you use this information. If you want to see if they're to do a change, and if there's been plate nested, you know that's going to be a little bit more of an expensive change. So there's many use cases that you can use this for. So if we go back to this and select the part, another cool thing that I really like is if I select a part and this ends up being isolate, which is the far left one, it selects a part, but it also selects the items around it, hides everything else, but the things that are around it are somewhat transparent. So you can imagine when you're in an engine room and you just want to look at something relatively quickly, you can select a part and it just pretty much makes it viewable. Because even if you just made everything other transparent, it just would not be viewable and not give you a good user experience. You would not be able to do what you actually want to do, which is not what a tool is designed for. So next one I want to show you here is the models. So this is again what you've seen in the other ones, that you can hide the other models. So if I just want to look at what Site 2 is doing, this is the models that Site 2 is doing. So I can just look at them even though I have both of them installed here. And I should mention also, the good thing about this app is that it actually downloads the model onto the iPad, so you don't need to be connected to the internet to access it. It will use a cache version. So if you do download it before you go on site or wherever, you'll have it even though you don't have internet access. And then when you do have internet access, you can have it updated without any issues. So the last thing I want to show you here Again, there's a lot more functionality here, but I'm breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. So this is just viewing information and interrogating. So another feature I want to show you is that distances. So if you're even on, again, on the waterfront or the shop floor, let's say I wanted to find the distance from that plate all the way to the other side. And let's see if I can select it. There it goes. So 16.76 meters across. So again, you can actually use this for more than just 3D viewing. There's a lot of information as well as you can do interact with that model. So that pretty much goes for, or is it for this video. And in the next video, what I'm going to show you is how you can actually start doing a little bit more of this communication and collaboration. And this is especially when you have models from different sites, that how can you actually mark things up, comment, and exchange information. So asynchronously as well as synchronously. And the last one, I'm going to save clash detection, which is an episode just by itself, which is really the difficult part and the important part in this case, where you have one site working on your mechanical systems and your outfitting while the other site is working on your structure. So how do you deal with clashes and interferences and updating your model? So those are the two videos to come.